Yo, what up guys? This is going to be a massive video. Now, when I say massive video, I'm not just saying that because I'm going to drag this out. This is the update to the health thing, the PVM nerfs that they were talking about. And we've been waiting for this for a while. It was meant to come out last week, but it is here now. And I've been waiting for this to come out so I can cover it. But this is part one. So this is going to be, when I say this is going to be a long video, this is part two. Like this is even bigger. This is going to take ages. Now, I'm probably not going to read every single word in here. We're going to skim through and then, like, this sort of stuff, maybe we can, not have to read every single part of it, but we will see what happens. I might end up having to read all of it to fully understand what's being said. But as you can see, this is huge. They've gone basically very in depth into detail as to what's actually going to happen. I think the first part is about why and like arguing their case on it. And I think the second part is basically very in depth on what is actually changing. As you can see here, it mentions like the bosses like Vorkath, and I don't even know if Vorkath was included in this, I'll be honest, but there you go. Now, initially, the issue with this, for those of you that didn't know, came from this news post here, which was the roadmap check-in in May. And they talked about down here that they were going to do a game health update with the Elder God Wars or Raksha and Wilderness Flash events. So they say Elder God Wars, and this is Raksha plus Wilderness Flash events. They must have gone back, like maybe our uproar here backfired, because I'm sure, did they mention Vorkath here? They didn't. Vorkath wasn't included in this, and now it is, which is hilarious because, right, look, I'm going to give my stance on this to begin with, okay? If anything needs to be done for the game, like if Jagex says, looking at something and saying this needs to happen for the health of the game, then they should do it. No matter what the uproar is and how late down the line it is, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 10 years, if something is bad for the game right now, no matter how old it is, it should be fixed. For example, if something happened and something in God Wars 1, which has been out for a hell of a long time, was being a real big problem for the game, they shouldn't leave it because that's that old, They should fix it. So that's my take on that. However, there were some other things as well that people were not too happy and impressed about, and what my take on the whole thing was these bits here. So they're saying that basically, where is it? In-game inflation has been a long-standing issue, largely driven by alkables and common boss drops, areas we aim to address with these changes, right? So in-game inflation, alkables is true, massive amount of coins coming into the game, so absolutely. I'm not too sure how common boss drops affect inflation. Maybe they're going to explain it to me, because maybe I'm stupid, but I assume these aren't out and these are just traded. Maybe people are trading them or selling them somewhere, I don't know. But anyway, then they said the value of certain items, like skilling supplies, has been heavily impacted due to previous balancing decisions. These changes aim to curb supply slightly, giving prices a chance to gradually recover. And they were like reducing the common loot drops of like bosses and stuff. And people were saying, hold up, my issue with this one, absolutely, alkables, you should just get rid of them. I think they're a terrible idea, whatever, right? Just exit my Steam real quick. They should get rid of alkables for sure, in my opinion, and figure out a different way to balance that, because if it's a problem, it's a problem, right? And alkables definitely are a problem in terms of inflation. But so to curb supply, proteins, treasure hunter XP lamps, stars, all this sort of stuff, way bigger like problem than someone doing, I don't know, care pack or something, right? Like one person individually, you log in, you get all this the XP stuff. We've been over this, but now we're waiting for this. We were waiting for this to hear back because they cancelled the thing or delayed it and said we're gonna discuss it better and take feedback into account. And that's what this is. So we're already 4 minutes in. Let's actually get through and start with this. So it says this is part 1 of our May game health feedback response. You will find a link to part 2 at the bottom of this page, and the second part will also feature in our news list on the website or launcher. So, hey everyone, we've spent some time in our balancing dungeon, and we're back today to give you an update on the recent economy changes that we discussed last month as part of Game Health Updates. For a little context, in April we released a news post titled The Roadmap Check-in in May, which is the one we just looked at, as a quick-fire look at everything happening this month. This included a summary of game health updates to tune the drop tables of a handful of more recent bosses and Wilderness Flash events, due to the effects they have on the game's economy. Okay, we have made the mistake of not covering this in a lot of detail, which understandably caused a lot of confusion, leaving you without much context or explanation. There were also some clear concerns in the community about certain content we were touching too. We delayed the initial release to refine our approach based on your feedback and provide a more detailed look into our intentions, which is this blog. So this blog is going to be basically why they're doing it, right? Where have I gone from here? We'll start by explaining what exactly a game health update is, what type of things they cover, and why they matter. In the second part of the blog, we'll break down the drop table changes discussed last month. So maybe we can skim over the second post pretty quickly, including adjustments we've made since delaying them and providing our reasoning for making all the changes we have. Okay. So, what are game health updates? Broadly speaking, the term game health update is an umbrella term for any form of changes that we make to the game which we deem necessary to maintain and improve how the game is doing. This can refer to game progression, encapsulates things such as skilling, quests, unlocks, game difficulty, and game modes such as Iron Man. The game's economy with rebalances, which can encompass buffs, nerfs, and neutral changes. Game systems and how you interact with the game, such as the tutorial system, clan system, grouping system, or the user interface, quality of life updates in the various forms, and technical updates such as code performance and maintenance. Okay, so that makes sense. All that was kind of common sense logic stuff. But let's see. In short, they can target a wide variety of things to ensure the game continues to provide a strong RuneScape experience while mitigating dangers that could affect the journey and experience of all players from new to veteran. Many of our past updates would also count as game health updates, even if not directly called one. After almost 25 years of being online and receiving weekly updates, RuneScape is a huge game with a complex web of interconnected content and systems that we need to maintain the balance of. RuneScape is truly a living, breathing entity, one that needs to be maintained for another 25 years and more still ahead of us. If you're familiar with old school RuneScape's Project Rebalance or Summer Sweep Up, then these are very similar. We understand that such changes won't always be loved. Changing aspects of content that players have frequently engaged with is going to cause some friction, especially if they're lucrative or very rewarding. However, maintaining the game's health and providing a solid game experience requires making such changes. Like I said before, I do think that if Jagex says this needs doing for the health of the game, then they should do it. No matter what the response is, it should absolutely be done. Keeping the community at its core is what RuneScape does best. It's for this very reason that we delayed the update to make sure we captured and addressed the concerns you raised, and we want to hear your thoughts on what other drop table or areas of the game could also use updates like this. Tell us what to nerf next. Damn, okay. I mean, at least they're asking for feedback. That's good, I guess. This is funny because I think that probably milking the players is what they do best, but it is, what it is. Anyway, why are game health updates necessary? Okay. It's going to be a long one. This is for the people, like most people aren't going to come and read all this. They're going to wait to either listen to it in this format, or they're going to wait for probably Protox's video later, which I say will be a shorter version, but we'll see. The playing field is always changing. RuneScape players know the game updates can have varying effects on the meta of skilling and PVMing, or on the value of existing in-game items, be it monetary or sentimental. Throughout its lifetime, RuneScape has seen many such scenarios where a game update can decrease or increase the GP value of an item. Of course, make a training method more or less viable, or even change the difficulty and grind of content. In most cases, this is just a fact of life of RuneScape. In some cases, we'll need to step in to maintain things we anticipate or know you would like maintained. As much as we don't want to change the content you love, this interconnectedness and the sheer size of the game means that it's important for us to tend to areas of the game that needs the attention. And I think they're basically going to be saying a long-winded thing of what I'm saying is if it needs fixing, it needs fixing, and it's important. But we're getting there. Maintaining the game's health is a continuous effort, and won't be something that we could ever complete. Truthfully, we never get around to doing everything with how big the game is, but we believe that taking it step by step and trying is better than doing nothing at all, which is true. You can't just ignore it and let it, because it will die if you do that. So fair enough. It's also important to note that there is no time frame by which content is subjective to change or not. Problematic content or systems are problematic regardless of how long they've been in the game or how long the problems have existed. This is what I was saying. It doesn't matter if it's 2 years, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. If it's a problem, it needs fixing. With that being said, we will always want to give you a heads up and gather feedback where we can. In regard to the recent drop table changes we presented, all of these drop tables were selected as they are major contributors to gold entering the game, either directly or through alchemical items. They're also major contributors to oversupplying certain items from the common loot table, injecting into the economy an overabundance of them, which negatively impacts the value of those items. In some cases, like Arc Glacier, the bosses also harmed game progression by allowing players to easily gain GP, skilling ingredients, and combat XP all at the same time while AFKing. It's for these kinds of reasons that game health updates are necessary. Okay, now I agree with this. I really do agree with all of this bit here. But the bit that I'm most interested in, because I have personally no problem with things like, where is it? Like the gold coming into the game. Where's it gone? Yeah, here. They are major contributors of gold entering the game, either directly or through alchemical items. If they wanted to say, we're not putting alchemicals on drop tables anymore, they're all just disappearing, goodbye, or we're reducing them dramatically, and gold drops themselves aren't going to be there, or we're reducing them dramatically, that's fine, in my opinion. I think coins kind of have to be on there somewhere, right, for people to be able to spend and like gather those coins in. Maybe we don't need it anymore. But at the same time, that's fine to me, and I don't have a problem with this personally. The problem that I have, and the only issue I have with this whole update, but I'm still going to cover it because it's news, is the oversupplying of certain items from their common loot tables, which like affects the items' prices for skilling and all that sort of stuff. I think that my argument is that one login with 3 treasure hunter keys in the majority of promotions, and I hope they address this. I've got a feeling they won't, but we'll see. I could be wrong. The majority of promotions, the 3 treasure hunter keys that you get when you log in gives you more XP instantly every day for every single player than I could myself, for example, log in that day and get in terms of skilling items from a boss. So the demand of those items drops ridiculously whenever someone gets a star, which gives the bonus XP, or a lamp, which gives instant XP, rather than me getting those items into the game and making them cheaper. The reason these items are so cheap, in my opinion, isn't because I'm getting them as a drop so often, or not that often, and more so because I instantly remove the need for them by just getting a star or a lamp every time I log in. That's my argument, that's my issue with it, and that's what I hope they address here. If they wanted to say we're going to balance this side and the other side of MTX as well, then I'd be happy days, do what you want, that's fine. But that is my only issue. The golden stuff makes sense in my opinion, and it should be adjusted if they think it's a problem, but it's these XP things that and that sort of stuff that is bothering me a little bit. I also kind of agree with this. The Arc Glacier harmed game progression by allowing players to easily gain GP, skilling ingredients, and combat XP all at the same time while AFKing. Normal mode probably shouldn't give anywhere near as much rewards as it should, because you can toggle off the reward, the skills and stuff, and it's designed for like a massive learning boss. But yeah, fair enough. We'll see what they do about that. As game designers, we know how fun it can be to feel like you're progressing at an accelerated pace, or to find the thing to farm for a specific item you need. We routinely consider this when we design content. However, when it reaches a stage that is actively harming the game's economy and a player's experience playing through RuneScape, we need to act upon it. It would never be possible to create an exact method or pace we want players to experience RuneScape through, nor do we want that. However, rebalancing is and will continue to be an ongoing, evolving process. Okay. Although they may affect a certain boss or method that a group of players really like, game health updates are a positive change for the game and player base as a whole. Maintaining a steady influx of certain items helps preserve their long-term value, even if the effects aren't immediately noticeable. Regulating the supply of alchemicals or raw gold in particular helps curb inflation, and we can also support balanced game progression by managing the pace at which players advance. Okay, yeah, this is fine to me. Again, raw gold and the alchemicals I don't have a problem with. While we're not aiming to prescribe a single way to play RuneScape, it's important to ensure the game continues delivering the rich and rewarding experience it's been known for over the past 25 years. And I agree with, right, so this bit here, everything they've said is true, and it is. And you can't argue it. Like, the game health updates are absolutely necessary. And nothing in here is arguable. Of course, it's important for the game. Of course that it's important to ensure the game continues delivering the experience, because think of another game where you care so much about your actual character's items and the things that you've earned as much as RuneScape. And I think this is the reason I still love playing RuneScape, and so many love playing RuneScape, whether it's old school or RuneScape 3. The best part of it, in my opinion, for me at least, is the value that you personally have for the stuff that you've earned in game. And inflation and stuff does remove that for sure. So this is important what they're saying, but at the same time, again, I agree with all of this. It's just the skilling stuff and the treasure hunt stuff that I want them to address. We'll see. But yeah. Anyway, update on proposed economy changes. To reiterate from your original news post, these changes were targeted mostly at Elder God Wars bosses alongside Raksha and Wilderness Flash events. These areas are clear outliers with their influx of GP and oversupply of items coming into the game. For most, this was mainly from their common loot pools, while in some other cases, it was necessary to make wider changes. No rare or unique items were nerfed, and instead some were buffed, so this is good. And this is actually something you can do, by the way. If you if you removed the gold, the specific GP coins dropped from the boss, but then increased the chance of getting the rare item, this would kind of balance. But I actually think this would only balance temporarily. I guess I could be completely wrong about this. Honestly, I could be, but I would assume initially, yes, this would balance it. But eventually, when the items become more common, those items would drop in value. But then inflation may fix that as well. If you are reducing inflation by removing the GP that's direct in the game, maybe that would also adjust. I don't know for sure, but you know, that's for Jagex to know, not for me, I guess. As we got together to review the changes, we determined it's best to make more holistic tweaks, after reviewing the data once more, including reintroducing some value to some of the weaker drops that were changed. In addition to the original changes, we broadened the list of bosses. Oh no, guys, what have we done? Do you think they've done this on purpose to make us like rethink our uproars in the future? Like, oh, now what we're going to do to control their outbursts is we're going to actually nerf more this time, and then they'll shut the frick up next time. No, I don't think so. I think they've just took longer to do it, and I think these will happen regardless eventually. And maybe initially they were just like, we'll do this one first, and then when they're used to it, we'll do the other ones. Whereas you might as well just bite the bullet and do it all now. Maybe that's how it works. I don't know, but guys, did we do this? I don't think so. But anyway, Croesus, Vorkath, Hermod, and Raziel have been included too, and made changes to Vorkath and Raziel, Croesus, and Hermod. Okay, so no, so they're just doing Vorkath and Raziel. I mean, Hermod makes 0 sense, right? I don't think it drops really anything. Croesus, okay, whatever. I don't know anything about Croesus. I can't even comment. I really know nothing about its drop table and that sort of stuff, other than you get Crypt Bloom from there, and I hate the boss. Before we get into the specifics, it's good to lay out our design philosophy for these changes and future ones. Okay. Right, so this is where they're gonna basically reinforce their decisions, which is good, right? So let's see. GP, alcohols, and inflation. This is the bit I actually don't have a problem with. Do they mention item influx number supply? Yes. Okay. This is the bit I'm more interested in. Let's take a look at this, of course. We want to cover everything. So alcohols bring in a lot of raw GP into the game, sometimes more than we're comfortable with. A big reason for this is many of the bosses covered within this update. For sure, you get, yeah, a shit ton of alcohols come from these bosses, and everyone just whacked. Well, not everyone. I sometimes don't because it's got to sell it for the video, but most of the time, you whack it in your auto alka, you log off, you come back in, whoa, I got 50 mil. And that's just me, right? Think about how many players are doing it. So for sure, right? Such amounts of gold injections to the game contributes heavily towards inflation. And while inflation itself is not a bad thing, uncontrolled inflation certainly is. An overabundance of GP in the game means that item prices also fluctuate, requiring more GP to buy things overall, and result in an inconsistent player understanding of item values. In other scenarios, high amounts of accessible GP can also hurt game progression, like in the case of Iron Man mode, where the objective is to play RuneScape with limitations that impose a harder game difficulty. Now, I actually am curious how many Iron Men there is in comparison to regular players, and there's always an argument, and I'm not going to give my take on it, because I don't have a take on it, kinda. I probably would lean towards more, should they balance the game around Iron Men? I feel like they shouldn't balance some aspects of it, but I feel like they should balance some of it. I think things that like massively limit the experience of it, they should, because there's a crap ton of there is a crap ton of Iron Man. But I'd be interested in seeing what the percentage is, and I think the higher the percentage, then the more, than absolutely. If it was like 5% or something, then no. But if so, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna get hate for this one. I'm not saying they shouldn't balance it at all. I'm just saying that certain bits of it. This one, I think they should. By the way, the GP and stuff, things that you can't reach because of it, like GP, I think so. But so other things. Anyway, let's see. Many of you will have seen game data from our January 2023 news post. Death costs a matter of life and death. This was ages ago now. Oh, it was January 2023, right? Which showed the top 10 gold sources and how much they added to the game each day on average. We provided that same data again and included up-to-date data from this month to for comparison to demonstrate the situation we're in right now. Okay, so this is the average from January 2023. Okay, so what's the bet that this is going to be way lower than down there for today's month? What do you reckon? I reckon it's going to be way higher, and that's why, and that's fine, right? So gold source, we'll just cover the first ones. Alchemy or invention machines. So this is just is this both? No, high alchemy's there. So invention machines, this is what I was saying, are the massive, just remove them, Jagex. Get rid of them, problem solved, no? How many people would be fuming if they removed invention machines for Alex? Anyway, 92 trillion? 237 million. Yeah, 92 trillion GP. Holy shoot. That is insane, no? 92 trillion GP. Wow. Okay. General stores is 43 million. Excuse me? What? Who's selling stuff to a general store? Is there a reason to sell stuff to a general store ever? Iron Men, maybe? Is there that many Iron Men, though, to make that much GP? Are you guys, tell me, Iron Man, is this you? 21.5% of the income. This was 2023, by the way, so it could be higher. Selling stuff to general stores for GP. I guess so, but then GP is not locked to Iron Man because you can drop trade it, right? Or you can PK. You can transfer it somehow. But high alchemy is 24 trillion. Monster drops drop to the floor. So this is probably all bosses and slayer monsters. All monsters 14.5 trillion. So this, number 4 and number 1 and number 3 is the ones that they're addressing, right? Monster drops through the coin magnet is 9 trillion, and then treasure hunter. So this is where we'll stop here because the rest doesn't matter. But oh wait, no, okay, yeah, no. So this is okay. So cash bags, direct coin prizes. These are the same. No, these are exactly the same except 1 click difference. So there is 9.5 trillion. I'm gonna add, this is the, unless I'm wrong, tell me in the comments if I'm stupid, feel free. Treasure hunter cash bags that you click to open and treasure hunter direct coin prizes that you don't click to open because you just get it are exactly the same. 1 trillion and 8.4 trillion. The only reason they want this separate, in my opinion, is because they want you to know that these 100 million GPs and I don't know, 50 million GPs, 20 million GPs cash stacks on the treasure hunter. They want you to know that this is number 9 out of 10. That's the only difference. They should remove cash bags then. Get rid of these, please. Anyway, alchemy, yeah, so alchemy is way higher. Let's look at that for now. 92 in January, 112, because this is pretty much there, right? Rounded up, 112 trillion gold. No, it's not trillion, it's billion. It's billion. It's 100. This is a daily. Okay, so 100 and, sorry guys, you guys have been screaming at me for this whole time. But this is billion. I don't know where I got trillion from, but is it million? 100,000. Yeah, okay, yeah, it is. So 112 billion. 57 billion from high alchemy. So this is insane. This definitely does, like, look, this has actually moved up a rank as well. And the spring cleaner too, is that even on here? No. Why didn't they include this spring cleaner on here? Not that it matters, it doesn't matter, but because this is the only one that matters really. This is insane. So this is why they're looking at this. Look, it's literally alchemy and then the bosses GP. So this makes sense. This is why, like, it makes sense why they're tackling the GP and the salvage. And I said this is fine. I am happy with this. This isn't a problem to me. It's the oversupply thing. People have stopped selling to general stores. That's good. Why? What's changed? What was people doing here? Was there a bug in the game or something? Why was this one so high? This one is so low. Are these numbers real? I don't know. There's going to be some conspiracy theorists in the comments now. Why are general stores now 3 billion, but before there were 43 billion? Actually, please, someone explain that to me. Not because it matters overly, probably, but because I just want to know. What were you guys doing here? Was this a bug? I don't know. Anyway, as you can see, the GP here is crazy, and it does need addressing for sure. Fine. Direct coin prizes and cash bags. Ooh, these have flipped. So they've stopped doing as much cash bags, and now direct coin prizes is 5 billion. Please remove these. Also, I wonder if they're going to address this, but we'll see. As you can see, High Alchemy is the breadwinner, either directly or through things like invention machines and the spring cleaner. Compared to January 2023, invention machines are now bringing in an extra 20 billion GP each day. Thanks, Protox. That's your fault for putting up an AFK, an inactive money-making gun. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Sorry. Please don't go over and tell him that. Anyway, an extra 20 billion GP each day. Meanwhile, GP introduced from direct high alching has more than doubled. It's clear from this data that we have taken action due to the effects that these are having. Okay, fine. I have no problem with that. The money bit, sure. Go right ahead. Absolutely. Item influx and oversupply. Similarly, really, the overabundance of items also negatively impacts their prices. To put it simply, the more of an item that comes into the game and stays in the game, the less value it has over time as it becomes cheaper. Also, I'm going to say this now, but I also want to say, I don't know if I can mention it. This is true, absolutely, but demand is also a very important thing. You could bring one item into the game, but if there is zero demand for it, the value of that item is not going to matter. If no one wants to buy that item, you have nothing. It doesn't matter. So proteins and treasure hunter, like the demand of that, the second you use a lamp, you know, if I use a lamp that gave me 100,000 XP on construction, I now need 100,000 XP worth of like planks less than I originally did, and so there's demand reduced. I don't need to buy those planks, right? That's what I'm getting at. Anyway, a decreasing value of an item over time leads to drop tables dwindling in terms of how strong they may be across the board. Cool. What this means is a boss that was once decent for its commons is now depending more heavily on the bigger drops. Skilling profitability can simultaneously suffer, and as items that may have once been sought after from skilling are now oversupplied from other places. Once again, this can also affect game progression by allowing too easy access to things like skilling supplies or gear. Additionally, a decrease in value also means it's harder to place that item on other drop tables, especially in new content. Absolutely. I mean, if something's worth 200 GP, like Spirit Weed Seeds were or are, I don't know what they are now, but they were for a while, you're not going to want to place it on another boss because there's even more, right? I agree with this, and they're not wrong here, but there's still an elephant in the room that they aren't addressing. By addressing these situations, it allows us to maintain the rate at which items come into the game, reducing the oversupply over time. Reducing the oversupply over time allows the item to once again gain some value. This is very true as well, and I was just about to say this up here. If they do increase the demand and the need for these items, and also reduce the amount they come into the game, which is true too, then the price of them will go up, and your boss value that you lost the GP on like direct coins will go up again, because you'll have, rather than getting it in coins, you'll get it in these common drops. So this is true, and what they're saying is something to consider, but they still need to I don't think they're gonna mention it, I'll be honest, and if they don't, I'm going to be a little bit like, what the frick, and they're going to be, it's a bad decision if they don't, in my opinion, but either way. Anyway, so let's see, where are we at? The effects of this usually won't be immediate. Yeah, so they'll gain some value once again. Although effects of this usually won't be immediate, we know from many past changes, such as the Croesus drop table adjustments back in 2023, that prices do recover given some time. For example, the Cockatrice eggs dropped from 6.5k GP to as low as 100 GP with Crosa's release. Though, ever since the February 2023 drop, table adjustments, they've continued to trend back upwards, currently at 1.1k. The image below shows the past 5 years of the price data for those eggs and the key point at which it changed. Okay, sure. So they released Croesus. Oh shit, what did we do? It's still recovering today. This is from 2021 to 2025. That's their fix. That's what they want to do with your seeds, your herbs, your logs, your spirits, stone spirits, I guess. All this is what they want to say. In 2021, these were 6.5k. We made an oopsie, and whoops, we screwed this because we released it in the drop table. You guys farmed the living shit out of it, and now they're 1.2k 4 years later. This, I mean, if this happened to all the other ones, as long as you're still getting proteins, as long as you're still getting XP, this is going to take even longer. Because what do you even use these for? You use them for making... Do you make them for Saradome and brews or something like that? No, not brews. You make them, it's some sort of potion, right? I believe. But anyway, it'll be even slower because of the fact that the demand for it will still be replaced by proteins. I assume this doesn't overly have a replacement for proteins, right? Well, anyway, let's see. While we give further context on the changes below, we'll drop a little statistic right now to highlight the severity of the situation. Currently, of all the Bainite stone spirits entering the game from NPCs on a daily basis, Arc Glacier alone is responsible for 95% of them every day, with Hermit as the next large contributor, with just 3%. This effect is also visible when looking at the value of these stone spirits. Okay, so now look, for stone spirits, this is a good one they've chosen here, because stone spirits don't really have a replacement on MTX, right? Stone spirits are going to give you more ores. Stone spirits will have a value if the ores are valuable, right? So if you are going to be using these to mine the ores in the game to get more GP and sell those ores, if the ores are worth way more, then the stone spirits will be worth more too, but unless, of course, the supply of them is ridiculously high. So yes, this one makes sense, and absolutely, but at the same time, the ores would be much higher in demand too if you didn't have people just getting free. I'm currently lamping and starring and getting all the proteins for smithing, because that's my next 120 after mining, and mining is just click on a rock and wait. Smithing's going to cost me money. Every day that I log in, I have less need for ores. Every single day, a lot of ores, way more than someone is going to mine in the time it takes me to log in and get those. So again, it's still an issue. While they're accurate, again, it is still an issue that needs addressing. There's a direct correlation between the sharp decrease of their value and the release of the Arc Glacier. Sure, absolutely. Unfortunately, this story is similar for many of the items found in the drop tables of the Arc Glacier and other Elder God Wars bosses, which you can see for yourself by looking at the price charts of those items via the RuneScape wiki. Okay, so true. I would love to see this with like herbs and that sort of stuff, and any other like common drops that they're going to be looking at changing here. But anyway, let's go through it. Game progression and the player journey. The final pillar of our design philosophy regarding these changes is maintaining the game progression. Some of these changes we're making, especially with alchables and others, which we detail below, aim at preserving some of the grind RuneScape is known for. However, it also serves to ensure that content is relevant throughout the game. While we know the grind is very different 20 plus years on, we still want to maintain an enjoyable and traditional RuneScape experience without letting players accelerate too fast with disproportionate input. Players can unintentionally change their experience of the game by skipping over large sections of iconic content because certain newer content has completely surpassed it. I mean, you've said in the past that you're happy with content dying. You've said, I am happy for this piece of content to die because there's a new one to do and the new one is important for the game. Is that not okay? Like, is that, I don't know, is that suddenly not okay? This is especially true for bosses like Arc Glacier, which provide decent combat XP, skilling supplies for a variety of skills, and raw GP through coins and alchables, all with a low barrier of entry for AFK. People are going to pull you on this for all minigames, all old content that is dead. They're going to pull you on this and say the exact same thing. You're basically saying that they're ignoring like God Wars 1, maybe Queen Black Dragon, stuff like this, because hey, just do Arc Glacier, which is true, and I would tell players just go to Arc Glacier. But What about all the other non-PVM content? Is it the same thing? For example, it wouldn't make much sense for a player to go and do certain bosses when they could camp out Glacier, exactly what I was just saying. Use the gold from that to buy other gear and skip parts of the progression almost unintentionally. For a boss whose mechanics are meant to teach new players RuneScape combat system, we know you'll agree that this isn't how RuneScape should be played. I do agree, right? I agree that Arc Glacier shouldn't give that much value, and that's fine. But you still need to be careful with your wording, and I do agree with that overall, though. With Group Iron Men, we also observe that Arc Glacier has been the go-to method for all of the above, meaning players ignore content that could otherwise be beneficial and enjoyable. This is why they're doing charms as well, I assume, for the same reason. They don't want people to ignore other stuff like maybe Slayer, or just AFKing at Water Fiends for 50 years. To get your charms, because everyone would just go, oh, where do you want to get charms from? AFK Arc Glacier. Where do we get GP from? AFK Arc Glacier. Where do I get this from? AFK Arc Glacier. And that's what they're kind of addressing here. And it's true, it does need changing. And like I said, I have no problem with changes, but I would just wish that they would address the freaking MTX side of it all, because it's not going to go away. People will still be upset about this. As you can see from the above, it's a complex situation. Everything is connected and there is no right answer, highlighting the necessity to tweak and maintain things continuously where possible. Ultimately, all of us JMods and players care deeply about PVM and all the aspects of RuneScape and want to make sure it remains healthily balanced. Head on to the second part of the game update blog by clicking here to deep dive into the breakdown of the changes. Nothing to do with proteins, nothing to do with Treasure Hunter, and you know what? That's such a shit thing to do, because they made this whole post on the basis that they were listening and were taking your feedback response, and they were listening to it. And you know what? I guarantee 80% at least of I mean, I pulled the number out of my ass, but a massive chunk, probably more than half of it at least, is people saying, what about proteins? What about Treasure Hunter? What about all this? They have not even breathed a single word of it. And I doubt it's going to be in here because, well, this is all just the bosses. Why would there be? Let's actually just check. Treasure Hunter comes up with nothing. Protein comes up with nothing. Shocker. I think this is ridiculous in my opinion, and it shouldn't go away. And if you guys are gonna make noise about it, make noise about it. I will still. This is like, it's crazy. Again, changes and everything they've said, fine. I think it should happen, and I think they should change whatever they think in the game needs to survive. Do it like today, whatever, I don't care. If I earn less at PVM, I couldn't care less. But what I do care about is being told that I'm the problem, not me specifically, but I am in the top percentage, not skill of like PVMs, but when we looked at the stats yesterday of all of the amount of people that are actually farming these bosses at high, and there's not only a small percent of players that are farming these bosses and getting these drops. You're saying that I'm bringing in more issues through killing these bosses than I am when I log in and just press my Treasure Hunter keys is not true. It is absolutely, for the skilling side of it. For the GP side, absolutely. Anyway, let's see this. Breakdown changes. Although last month's news post was only a summary, intended to be followed up with another post providing further details. Don't know about that one. We understood your concerns and the need to be clearer with what changes we're making ahead of time. The following breakdowns will highlight the changes we've made to the content and drop tables, as well as the explanation for those changes. All of these changes were made with the design philosophy outlined in part 1, serving as our guidelines. Cool. Following the delay of the updates, we sat down once again and made some additional data facilitated tweaks and changes. Although quantities were lowered across the board in various places, we replaced lower value items with items that currently carried higher values. This was done to ensure drop tables still carry some weight and variety across the table as a whole, rather than continuing to drop already low value items at even lower quantities. Okay, cool. On the flip side, we increased the chance for rare items in several places, remedying situations such as the frozen core of Leng. People will be happy about this. Or slightly tuning prices of the slivers right now, I guess. Slightly tuning that probably won't be that bad. Tuning the boot drops at Raksha to reduce how often they dropped. Thank frick, man. Please. And notably, you'll see an almost complete removal of items like inert ability, adrenaline crystals and serenic scales. We've done this as the value of them have dropped too significantly due to the sheer volume of them coming into the game. Limiting the supply of them this way will allow you to regain some of their value again as time passes. Cool. These will probably still be in Slayer, in my opinion. I guess it's got to come from somewhere, right? So it scales. So that's fine. And if they want to replace stuff on the drop table with other stuff because it's got better value and it's not a big problem, then it makes sense, right? So whatever. And again, I have no problem with this sort of stuff. This isn't the thing. Whatever. Carapac. You can probably end the video here if you guys wanted to. If you just want to hear everything here, I will still go through it really quickly, like really quickly, because the main part was this. But if you aren't interested in what's actually changing, then there you go. So normal mode, coins have dropped from 250k down to 150. That's fine. Salvage from 2 to 4, 1 to 2, half basically. Cannibals as well, because they're alkables. Cannibals was why Carapac was good, by the way. Cannibals was insane. Like, I mean, this is gonna be a pretty big deal for sure in hard mode. And the coin changes, you'll notice it for sure. We will. What's going to be interesting is checking. I should have screenshot. I wish I'd screenshotted earlier all of the PVME Discord price changes. Maybe I still will, and we'll see what it changes to get an exact amount. Maybe someone's already done it, so we'll maybe see it somewhere. But yeah. I want to see what they've changed. So they've increased, they've replaced inert adrenaline crystals with super magic 3s. Okay. They've increased the minimum dropped quantity of Hydrix bolt tips from 45 to 50. They're not alkables? Not Hydrix bolt tips? Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. Increase the maximum dropped quantity of manuscript of jazz. Oh, it's not the scripture. Increase the drop rates of the fractal round pieces. What? That's crazy. Increase the drop rates of remaining rares by 6 points. I might get my jazz book now. That's insane. Probably not. It's not going to make a difference. The above changes are aimed at reducing the influx of most of these items, including raw GP, in the form of coins and alkables. The removal of inert adrenaline crystals similarly aims to choke the oversupply of them so that they can start to regain some values as time passes. This will be the same for the rest of changes we'll discuss today. The maximum dropped quantities of manuscript of jazz has been increased to make this drop more rewarding. It was similar. The manuscript of jazz page has gone up. I mean, it's valuable, but this will drop now in value. I mean, they can always tweak stuff again later, right? But I guess we'll see. Again, I don't care if I earn less at bosses. That doesn't bother me, because if you earn less at bosses, then things cost less, and that's how inflation works, right? My only sour taste of this whole thing was because they didn't address MTX side of it, and I think they should balance both. They should balance PVM. They should balance that too. But anyway, we teased a little in the Art Glacier earlier to explain just how responsible it is for the oversupply. Just remove it from the game, man. I never do this boss. Who cares, right? Joking, I'm joking. So every day the Art Glacier is responsible for. Right, that's fine. No, the above values are referring to the drops from the NPCs and don't include how much actually. Let's see. 95% of stone spirits, 81% of spirit weed seeds, 95% of crushed nests. 55% of uncut dragon stones, 55% of crystal keys, 8.4 billion GP from raw cash and alkables. Gross. That's insane. Yeah, cool. Yeah, high alking, Hydrix bolt tips. Increased it. Whatever, it's fine. Anyway, no, the above values are referring to drops from NPCs and don't include items made by players or received from things like reward chests. Okay. Okay. So this is like 95% is based on drops coming into the game via drops, not by people crafting the gems, not by people like opening the reward chests and stuff. Okay. As you can see from this sample of drops alone, our Glacier is consistently oversupplying huge amounts of these items into the game every day, including the influx of GP. In the grand scheme of the game, these numbers may be a drop in the ocean, but coming from only one boss alone every single day with little effort makes this a clear problem. If you refer back to the data of gold sources detailed earlier, although it's not a direct comparison, our Glacier would come in the 5th place for the amount of gold it brings in with its raw GP and alcohol drop. Okay. The above also doesn't include things like charm drops, which negates the need to do other content. Like I was saying earlier, just do our Glacier, just do our Glacier, just do our Glacier. So that's, again, whatever. And Starved Agent effigies, which give generous amounts of XP. Right. Again, though, right? This is the same thing, and it just keeps coming back to me. Yes, get rid of the charm drops or nerf them so that you will go do something else, because it's great to have this big open world where people will go out and they'll look for the best ways to do things, and people will be getting charm drops from water fiends, people getting charm drops from doing Slayer, people getting charm drops from getting the bosses because they're doing bosses anyway, so we'll just keep the charm drops when we've got from there. People are spread out across the world that Jagex has spent time developing. Awesome. MMO. Feels great. Why have we got portable skilling stations? What the frick are we doing? There's no need for them. I hate it. I hate portable skilling stations. They're stupid. They're ridiculous. Why are we all stood at the fort for in-3, skilling in the same place, which negates the need to do other content, such as use the crafting guild, use the smithing guild, use all the different things in the game? No, just use a portable skilling station and stand at fort for in-3. Can we address this too next week, maybe, Jagex? Please? The sheer volume of the skilling items had also dramatically affected the GP values and feeds into the progression points we were discussing earlier, as well as having a knock-on effect on skilling preferability and other PVM drop tables. The changes we've made, detailed below, aim to keep Arcglacier in a useful combat teaching boss in normal mode, while hard mode is intended as a starting point for those who can comfortably do 5 mechanic kills. Okay, cool. So, normal Arcglacier works a bit different to other bosses we're discussing today due to how the mechanic section selection adds multipliers. Instead of detailing how each drop will be affected, as it would be too long to do so, we'll cover the core changes and show you how the drop multipliers have changed. Okay, so if you have 5, the new multipliers, holy whoa, that's crazy. So, now, if you're doing 5 in normal, it's fine. It's a learning boss, right? You're there to learn the combat. You're not there to make the money. That's what they want. Makes sense to me. 5, though, 5 mechanics is going to earn you the same as 2.5. That's crazy. It is what it is, though. An example of these multiplier changes with actual drops. A 3 mechanic fight would previously give him 75,000 coins. Now it'll give 37,500. A 5 mechanic fight would have previously given 56 to 94 Christian S, whereas it now give 15 to 19. Holy crappy-oly. That's crazy. Fine, though. I think the alcohols again and the nests and whatever. All good. Below is a summary of the core changes mentioned above, including other changes we make in normal mode. Decrease the quantity of charm drops. So 1 charm in 0, drops 1 charm in 0 on mechanic fights. Drops 3 charms in 2 plus mechanic fights, 3 to 9. Okay, removes Serenic Scales, redistributed the chance to uncut Dragonstones. Redistributed the chance to uncut Dragonstones, okay. Increased the base quantity of Hydrix Bolt Tips, and they have a separate drop table for what? 0 mechanic fights now have a separate shared drop table and only give 1 drop per kill instead of 3, okay. Damn, that's crazy. Regular Arcglacier is not in the money-making list now. I will make a new video on like the low-level bosses to kill for money, because Arcglacier is hard mode. Hard mode mechanics remain unaffected in some terms of reward mechanic changes, though there's still some drop table changes. Decrease the quantity of water talismans, blah, blah, blah. Water ballast nests. That's huge there, but it's fine. They're not worth anything anyway, so you're better off with that. Replaced Spirit Weed Seeds with Water Runes. That's nice, because Staff of Ammon's going to drink those up. Adjusted base quantity to 40. Replaced Serenic Scales with Cannonballs. Sadness to Carapac, because now these are going to... I mean, whatever. Adjusted base quantity to 100. Increased the base chance of the rare roll. And it's only 100 candles. Okay. Reduce some energy by 50. Enrage, sorry. Firstly, the base quantities of many... Oh, wait, here we go. There's actually the rares here. This is also an increase of 50% chance to roll a rare. Increase the base chance for a rare roll and contribution from Enrage by 50%. Is this not huge? This results in an increase of 50% chance to roll a rare. Increase the chance of to obtain a Frozen Core of Leng by 4%. The chance of getting a Scripture of Wind by 2%, and a Leng Alpha by 2% as well. Is that not crazy? Is that not like really, really, really like a lot or not? Anyway, firstly, the base quantities of many of the hard mode drops reduced due to the sheer number of these items being introduced to the economy each day. These values are multiplied by the kill streak number, resulting in overly high quantities of drops and the reason of their overall reduction. Simultaneously, we increase the chance to roll a rare and receive a Frozen Core of Leng by shifting the weighting from the scripture and artifact. As we know, a common feeling amongst the community is that the Arcglacier is a bit stingy with that drop. Absolutely. People have gone ridiculously dry there for those. Seeds were removed. That's fine. Cool. Please note, those of you who have existing streaks and unclaimed chests will have the streak ended and will... Those of you that have existing streaks and unclaimed chests will have the streak ended. Would claim you're currently before attempting the encounter again. That's a shame. What if someone was like... What if... Oh, wait, yeah, okay. Look, they give you warning. It's not today, is it? It's a while off. If you're on a streak currently, we recommend finishing that before these changes come into the game. Okay, cool. Fine. That's fine. I was like, wait, hold up. Is this ended? Rip. But it's not today. I forget. Zamorak and the Zamorak in Undercity. They've nerfed the Undercity as well. Decreased quantity of Huge Blade Salvage. Ah, yeah, Salvage was crazy there. Added variance to some drops which only had a single base quantity. Soul Runes, Blood Runes, Death Runes, Fire Runes, whatever. Fixed the bug with the Dark Animica, whatever. Not dropping in story mode, who cares? Normal mode, rare drops. Decrease the chance to receive Onyx Dust. Okay. Increase the chance for receiving the slivers of pain, power, and strength. Okay, cool. Alkables decreased the quantity of huge blade salvage. Makes sense. Okay. Much of the changes to Zamorak Undercity drops were simply add more variance in drop quantities, as the items were being dropped in static quantities each time. A bug preventing the stone spirits from dropping was all fixed, and the chance to receive onyx dust was reduced, but they increased it in slivers, which is the most money that you can get from there anyway, so that's fine. Okay, Zamorak. Okay, where you see a decrease or increase in value weight, these have the inverse effect because Zamorak's drop table gives an allowance for drops. Each drop is worth an amount of points, and these points are deducted from the total allowance. This means that the smaller the number of value weight, the more of that item which could actually be received. Basically, a decrease in value weight is a buff, whereas an increase is a nerf. Okay. I'm not going to go for all these. Doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Alkables and all that stuff is decreased. And they're probably going to increase rares. Let's see. Yeah. So increased the weight of Chaos Relic rare. So you're gonna an increase is a nerf, right? Yeah. Okay. So increase the chance to receive above Last Guardian piece by 10% in a range of 500%. This doesn't affect... I feel like this doesn't make a difference. Like, okay, no, it does. It does, actually. I'm not thinking about it correctly. I'm being a bit, like, silly. People over 500% are the people that are getting the most, losing the most value here, too. I was just thinking, like, the majority of players that are doing Zami aren't over 500%, and this is true. They're not. But the people over 500% are probably actually... They're feeling this more than the people that aren't because of the fact that, you know, you get more with the higher in rage you go, so it makes sense. So yeah, that makes sense. I was just initially thinking like, what? There's like way less people doing over 5% than there is under, but yeah. Much like it in some cases, the Glacial Zamorak's drop table mechanics and the enraged mechanic were heavily affecting the quantity of drops received. The decrease in quantities you see above is to bring more under control because, like other bosses we're discussing today, Zamorak is responsible for bringing a lot of these into the game. To elaborate on this more, every day Zamorak is responsible for. Zamorak does get farmed the living crap out of, to be fair. 90% of uncut onyxes. Damn. 75% of blood runes. Onyx bolts, Hydrix, ashes, dwarf wheat seeds, lantern seeds. Okay. Here's another fun stat. As of writing this blog, in the past 3 days, Zamorak alone dropped on average 2 times the amount of blood runes crafted by them. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's crazy. Looking back further than 3 days, yeah, I mean, we should be crafting more runes than dropping them, I think, for sure. But yeah, all right. And no one wants to do rune crafting. It's shit, man. Rework it. Make it fun. Make it enjoyable. Make it something that you just not like wanting to murder yourself. Yeah, do that maybe. In game. Anyway, when it comes to onyxes, Zami takes the cake. Onyxes have for a while now been near out value. Yeah, I mean they remember when they added these to a rock, you could mine onyxes and they went below alg value. Yeah, they removed that very quickly. If you remember our data of gold sources building this blog, the Spring Cleaner sat at rank 3, bringing in an average of 39 billion GP each day. It's not a direct comparison. Zamorak alone would almost sit at 3rd place for the amount of gold it brings in with these 4 drops. Okay. Right, Zook. I'm not going to read everything here now. So the biggest change overall, however, was to prevent players from purposely failing and repeating certain waves of the fight to farm. Yeah, I was going to say, this was getting... basically like you wave farmed, you do the wave, you TP out, you do the wave, you TP out. So it makes sense. Raksha, Let's see. Decrease the stuff. Replace spirit seeds with arbok seeds. Replace golden dragon fruit seeds with siku seeds or whatever the frick they are. And replace the nerdrily crystals with catalytic anima stones. Remove phoenix scales. And decrease the chance to receive any of the laceration, blast distribution, and fleeting boots. This change effectively makes the ability books and shadow spikes drops more common. Once again, many of the changes to Raksha were made in order to reduce the impact of alcohols and the oversupply of commons. However, we also made the decision to replace some of the items on the drop table to give back some value to Raksha with other drops. Raksha's commons were already not that great. Much of this was due to the overabundance of items and subsequent bosses that have dropped the same items. Yeah, so they've replaced those ones. Which many of you will be delighted to see that Raksha now drops arbok seeds. I was going to say this is actually really good because they are very valuable. Finally, we once again increase the chance of receiving some rares such as the ability books and shadow spikes by decreasing the chance to receive the boots. We also had a lower GP value for some time now due to dropping more commonly. Yeah. Okay, cool. Wilderness flash events. Yeah, that's fine. I don't really care about that, honestly. I don't know anything about them, so I couldn't really comment on it. But Wilderness flash events are a very popular piece of content, bringing players together regularly. I like them, and they're good for the game. This is the sort of thing they should be doing instead of portables. One of the biggest offenders in terms of drops here was Necronium Salvage. Okay. Which has been replaced with Orichalcum Salvage. I guess Necronium was just... Does that matter? Necronium and Orichalcum. Is Orichalcum not higher value than Necronium? Or maybe I'm really wrong in that. No, I don't know. Anyway, to maintain the supply of quantities of drops such as Bloodweed Seeds, Magic Logs, and Wyvern Bones were also reduced. Okay. One notable such drop is Bacchanal Bolts, once popular skilling moneymakers for players, Woolly Flash events. Okay. Vorkath. With Vorkath, we determined it didn't need to receive any nerfs or replacements, and instead we've increased the chance to receive Vorkath's rares. What? Okay, I thought when they added this they were going to decrease anything. Increase the chance to obtain Invoke Loyal, but Vorkath's really good money, by the way. Vorkath is really, really good money. This is even better now. Good, I like Vorkath. It's one of my favorite bosses, probably my second favorite, maybe even my favorite. Decrease the quantity of Onyx Bolt tips from 80 to 65. Okay. Just looking here. Replace the original Dwarfweed Seeds with Elder. A chance to get Elder or Eternal Wood Spirit. Okay. Rashiel is a consistently popular boss, especially given he's the source of Necromancy's 1095s. The changes above are aimed at alcohols once again, as well as things like Onyx Dust, which contribute to Onyx issue. I was just earlier. Here are some data to the situation. That's fine. We don't care about that now. Right. Okay, we're here, and at the end, we want to thank you for taking the time to read through the behemoth of a blog, and I hope that we've illustrated the situation and why updates like this are important. As always, we'll be keeping an eye on your feedback. Does it matter at this point? Because the feedback was, what about Treasure Hunter? Will you address Treasure Hunter? No, apparently not. I'm monitoring the effects of these changes whenever they go live. Adjustments will be made where necessary, and as we watch the effects of these changes in real time. Finally, we'd like to hear what other game content you could use Game Health Update to. Treasure Hunter, maybe? Just remove it. That's a good game health update now. There's also a health update for players too, actually, gambling addictions and stuff. We have many such things we'd like to correct and improve ourselves, but we know that as a community we have experts to plenty of great ideas to share. Okay, right. First of all, props to Jagex on this. The same time, wait. Props to Jagex on delaying the actual initial release of it, because they weren't planning on doing this. They said that at the beginning they were planning on doing this. No, they weren't. Maybe they were eventually. I don't think so. I think that they were going to just add it to the game. Let's see what happens. I think that that's what was going to happen. But doing this, delaying it and saying, yeah, actually, you know what? We probably could have done this better, and fixing it, that's a good thing to see. Props to them for that. Happy days. However, you have ignored a massive chunk of the feedback that you got from this, which was the only issue. Like I said, I have said this a million times and I'll say it again. The GP values, the gold coming into the game, the salvage, I like it. Good. Fix it. If there's a problem, inflation is a problem, fix it. Awesome. No problem with me. If I was making 50 mil an hour at, I don't know, a boss, and now I'm making 30, I don't care. If inflation is down, doesn't matter. You have more buying power than that 30 mil. I understand how that works. And also, I don't really care. It's fine. It is what it is. But don't tell me that the people doing Raksha, people doing Karapak, people doing Glacier, maybe Glacier, you know, other things like that are affecting skilling more than Treasure Hunter and reducing the demand for these skilling items. If Treasure Hunter is reducing the demand of these skilling items, it's going to reduce the demand more than players can supply it. So that's my take from it anyway. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I wanted to cover this. Obviously, it's been an hour. This is an hour-long video. If you got to the end, if you watched all of it, I don't know if you just skipped to the end, but if you got to the end and watched the entire thing, holy shit, leave a like. And also, thank you. Let me know in the comments. And other than that, I will catch you all in the next one. I did have another video I had to put up tonight, but there's a good chance it won't come up tonight now because of this. It'll be tomorrow. But it's the stream from yesterday, so if you want to like have a little peek, it'll be there. Catch you later, guys. Have a good one. Bye.